In this podcast, we want to talk about momentum. Momentum has been so important in our business. I mean, it's so important in our business. I was just talking to somebody just the other day, and they were telling me how in this last month, they made more money in that month than they ever have in a single month. And they've been with us for 10 years, 12 years, something like that. Certainly, it was almost as much as they'd made as an entire year in their previous career. They were just going on and on about it. I was like, oh my gosh, it's one of the things I love about our business and love about our business is in the industry is that, look, things can seem bleak at times. Small business ownership, right? It can seem bleak at times, but things can change so fast in our business for the better, by the way. And we've certainly seen that. I mean, I felt like when we first got started in 99, you were working your job, and I was working like crazy on getting this thing up and off the ground. And I remember just weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of work. And you look back and you're like, man, nothing happened. And then our big year of 2003 was when we really exploded. We grew 10 times in 7 months. And it was started by a challenge from a mentor that said, I challenge you to double in 90 days. I said, well, how do I do it? I'm all for it, but how do I do it? And he said, well, you need to recruit 20 people in your agency every month, and you need to personally produce 20,000 in personal production every month. And I said, okay. I went 90 days, and we had doubled from like 20,000 in volume to 40,000 in volume, which to me, I was expecting like huge, but that was double. But it wasn't what I was expecting. Like all of a sudden, I'm flying a private jet, right? And I called him up, and I was like, "You're a liar. You said 90 days, and my business would look totally different." He said, "I don't know what to tell you, Fitz. Maybe you're just slow." And so, his words exactly. And that was in June. And so, in June of that year, we did right at $40,000 in production. June of 2003. First week of July, which that year still included July 4th. In the first week of July, we did 30,000 that first week of July. We did 40,000 in all of June, 30,000 the first week of July. And I tried to call him, and he's like, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. And I said, whoa. I just want to let you know what we did. And he's like, holy crap. So by the end of that month, we were at 97,000, then 127,000. And by October of that year, we were at $200,000. That's momentum, guys. Yes. That's when mass and velocity multiply to come up with this unspeakable force that grows your business. And it's like, how'd that happen? Well, it happened, and then I learned how it happened. How about that? Mm-hmm. One of my favorite books of all time, one of the most impactful, life-changing books, I do a whole teaching on this book, is Jim Collins' book, Good to Great. I'm not going to get into it. I've got actually a link in the bottom of this video, the description, or if you're listening to the podcast, in the description, a link to a teaching I do on his book. I won't go into all the details about it, but in the book, he talks about this flywheel and doom loop effect, which when I read it, I interpreted it as this is what momentum looks like. Momentum can be positive, it can be negative. I wonder how those things play out. The negative momentum starts with having a disappointing result. Right. So everybody's susceptible to negative momentum because we all get disappointing results at some point. It's happened to everybody. It's how you respond to it, right? But I want to talk today about the positive momentum and how you get that positive momentum. The first thing you do in creating positive momentum in your business is taking a step forward consistent with what you're supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. Shuffling leads is not a step forward consistent with what you're supposed to be doing. Making a phone call and booking an appointment with a client, at least just dialing the phone, is a step forward consistent with what you're supposed to be doing. That is going to lead to, number 2, an accumulation of visible results. So you take a step forward, you make a phone call, and you get accumulation of visible results. Initially, the visible results are just tick marks on a piece of paper. I made a dial. I made another one. I made another one. I made another one. Hey, look, I talked to somebody. Oh, I made another dial. Made another dial. Oh, I talked to somebody else. Oh, I booked an appointment. Now I made another dial. See the accumulation of visible results? Well, the dials lead to conversations. Conversations lead to appointments. Appointments lead to actually them showing up. And them showing up actually starts leading to sales. And sales ends up leading to commissions. And commissions ends up leading to a smiling wife. So it's all good, right? It's an accumulation of visible results. It starts off with tick marks. It ends up with dollars, right? And then number 3, that leads to people getting lined up and energized by the results. Yes. forever I've had men ask me how do I get my wife to get fired up about this business? And I'm like, well, are you asking to get her excited, or are you asking to make her your secretary? Because I don't know how to do the secretary thing, but here's how I got my wife excited about what I was doing. I started bringing home money. When I started bringing home money, when I started getting deposits in the account, she got excited. She decided that she should quit her full-time corporate job on our second awards trip. First trip was to Hawaii. Second awards trip was to Bermuda. And in Bermuda, at the Southampton Princess, in our hotel room, my wife said, I'm going to quit my job. I've been watching all these people around here, and we're on this trip, and this exotic, and they're paying for all the stuff. I'm fired up. She got energized by the results. And then that leads to step 4, which is really the flywheel building momentum. The momentum continuing on. And so that leads to taking more steps for. Listen, she says she wants to quit her job and she's all fired up. That's building momentum. You think I'm going to stop working now? Heck no, I'm going to work twice as hard because I finally got her excited about it, right? So I'm going to make more dials. I'm going to book more appointments. I'm going to make more sales. That's going to lead to more accumulation of visible results, which is going to lead to her getting more excited. And now I'm getting other people around me now excited because I'm on fire. That's going to lead to even more momentum. Mm-hmm. And it just keeps on going. And before you know it, it's like, it's out of control, but in a good way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that one of the key secrets to momentum and building momentum is it all actually comes from what you believe as a leader and what you can help those that are following you believe and raising their belief level. Because what we believe always will determine what it is that we're doing. What we believe in our hearts determines those actions, those regular actions that we take.
Yeah.
So when the actions aren't in line, if they aren't consistent enough, if it isn't enough to create positive results, then you have to go all the way back to, well, what do I believe in my heart about what I'm doing?
Right.
And that's why that's why there's so much power when you get around other people who have had success. And like Fitz said, we've lived really positive and negative momentum in this business. We've lived it personally, we've seen it happen in a team culture. And I love the way you said it happened. We lived it initially, but we couldn't tell you how it happened or how we did it. And now we get a chance to kind of dissect it and help teach other people how to create positive momentum. Because for us, it started with Fitz and I hiring and him producing. But when momentum started was when we, in a compressed period of time, packed a lot of people into our business, and then our first 1 or 2 people started to have success. Like one person started to build their own agency and make overrides and be a leader. One person was out there writing. Another person was out there writing $20,000, $30,000 a month. So when all of a sudden we could say, hey, look at Tim Smith over there. Look at his success. And we could say that to not just 3 other people, but 50 other people. All of a sudden, those 50 other people believed at a bigger level that they could do it too. Because it wasn't just Fitz and Heather that had success. It was now Fitz and Heather and Tim Smith and Jason Brown, I don't know, whatever his name is. So, you had multiple people that were having success, and then more people were having success, and then more people started having success simply because they believed they could. That belief is the basis of momentum. Now, the problem is, like you're saying, because sometimes the problem is that the results aren't there. I don't have somebody that has success around me. But that's where I want you to hear the key secret to what John Maxwell teaches about the flywheel doom loop. The key secret is your consistent activity and doing the right things in a compressed amount of time. That is the secret. Because there's a proverb that talks about a farmer who's out planting in the fields. But he plants a few seeds and he stops and he looks for the rain. And then there's no rain. So then he goes back and he plants a few more, and he stops and he looks for the rain, and then there's no more. And so when the rain finally comes, his crop is not going to be as large as the farmer who just simply planted seed, planted seed, planted seed, planted seed, planted seed, and never stopped looking for the rain. So there is an element of timing that comes into momentum, and you don't know when that boom is going to happen. You're not really sure. When is that person going to show up that's going to have success and raise the belief level for everyone? But you've got to be ready for when it does happen by being consistent in your production and the things that you're doing day in and day out.
Man, that's good. I mean, when you were talking about that, I was just thinking about, like, you gather all this timber or this kindling, right? And you pour gasoline on it, and then you start doing one of these little, I don't know, maybe you have a flint and steel where you're trying to spark it or something, or maybe you're like a old school, you're trying to get fire started by rubbing a stick together. I mean, whatever. And all of a sudden, you just don't know when that ember or that spark is going to hit and strike, and all of a sudden, everything just goes whoom. And you have fire, and with fire you can heat yourself, and you can eat food, and you can do all kinds of great stuff with that. But you just don't know when it's going to happen. But it just, boom, all of a sudden it does, and you go, I don't know what happened. I was just doing what I was supposed to do. Well, and speaking of doing what you're supposed to do, in order to take steps forward, consistent with what you're supposed to be doing, one of the things we do every week is we have dial sessions going on where we have local agents will get together in various pockets. Sometimes we even tie that together with Zoom or something along those lines, where you can sit maybe at your house, or maybe you're with a group of local agents and you're looking at other people making dials, but making dials together. One of the things I found in this business was making dials and booking appointments was extremely lonely, but it was all of a sudden comforting when I knew I had somebody else with me that was in the fight with me, and maybe I could learn from them, maybe they could learn from me, but if nothing else, we just provided comfort that, hey friend, you're not alone in this fight.
That's right.
I'm fighting with you. And that will lead to the accumulation of visible results, which leads to at least you getting energized initially, and that's more momentum, and now you're making more and more dials. So we do that every week. Check with your manager if you're already with us, or shoot me an email, fitz@fitzgroup.org, FITZ@FITZGROUP.org. Shoot me an email and say, hey, when's the next dial session going to be? I'd love to participate in that.
That's right.
We'd love to help with it. So anything else? No. Now that you know,
you know.